In this part, I talk about two bands, Mjolnir and the Stupid Things. Mjolnir were formerly known as Red Alert, the band that Jesse Clemens was in. And along with Jesse, played keyboards and guitar. Vincent Von Braun on lead guitars, Ringo Bonham on the drums, Rich Rutherford on bass, and Rob Van Brock on guitars, on rhythm guitar. And they have been together since high school. And in about 2010, they finally threw him out of the band. The past few years, there have been some differences, philosophical differences, especially dealing with Jesse Clemens' Christian faith, and how he was not living the rock star life, not sleeping around with other women, not doing drugs, not partying, not smoking or drinking. And they ridiculed him for that. They criticized him for that. And so they threw him out of the band. They changed their name to Mjolnir. I'm not even pronouncing it right, but it's dealing with the hammer of the mythical Norse god Thor. It was named after the mythical Norse god Mjolnir. And they replaced Jesse with Steve Grissom, who also played keyboards and guitar. He wasn't as good as Jesse was, though the other members of the band would never admit it. And at that time, the Stupid Things were becoming popular. They were a band from New York. They were extremely raunchy. And it consisted of Butch Morrison on lead vocals, Jeff Nicholson on the keyboards, Melvin Simpson on the drums, Alan Davis on rhythm guitar, Ming Chung on bass guitar, and Bill Jagger on lead guitar. Bill Jagger was the sodomite of the group. In other words, he was gay. He preferred men rather than women. He was into that lifestyle. But at that time, Butch Morrison and the Stupid Things had become popular. They were touring at the time with the Rolling Stones and become very close with the legendary Rolling Stones, who have been around for 50 years as of now. But the story, it hasn't been 50 years yet, but Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, they saw this group and they kind of reminded them a little bit of them in their younger days. In fact, in the story, Mick Jagger would say that if the Rolling Stones had gotten together today, they would be more like the Stupid Things. And the Stupid Things were extremely popular. Their album shot up to #1, their debut album. And they were notorious for the havoc they caused, sleeping around with other women. In fact, some of the members were involved in paternity suits, including Butch Morrison, who had gotten some women pregnant, and they would violate women and party and be very destructive. And at the time, at the beginning of Sonic Riptide, of the novel, the Stupid Things were touring with the Rolling Stones, which is called the Legend and the Legacy Tour. The Rolling Stones being the legends and the Stupid Things being the legacy. And they became extremely popular, the Stupid Things. And the Rolling Stones fans were very receptive toward Butch Morrison and the Stupid Things. And it's unwritten in a novel that some erroneously believe that Butch Morrison was the son of legendary Doors singer Jim Morrison, which was an impossibility because Butch Morrison was born years after the death of Jim Morrison. His style, Butch Morrison's style, was kind of a little bit like Jim Morrison, but more like Mick Jagger. And their lifestyle kind of reflects that. And in a chance meeting, they became fast friends, the Stupid Things and Mjolnir, and they toured together, and they hired two other bands, which I am not going to announce who they are, just too gross to name them, but they became fast friends, and Mjolnir's debut album, God of Thunder, that's the name of the album, but it was one of the songs, God of Thunder, that hit #1, and they were extremely popular. Both groups were popular. Their albums going multi-platinum, and they toured together. And during that time, during their tour together, the double headliner tour in Houston, no, it was in Dallas. It was in Dallas, called the Dead Lizard, where Butch Morrison had a confrontation with rapper Pitbull Jones, who was abusing his girlfriend Vivica Black. Vivica Black was a diva, a world-renowned diva, an R&B diva, and Pitbull Jones was a rapper who was infamous for his bashing of white people and songs of his rap about abusing women and infamously using the F-bomb and the N-word, until they got into a physical confrontation, Pitbull Jones and Butch Morrison. Eventually it was broken up. But where the stupid things in Mjolnir went, they caused trouble, and they felt their life was good, living the rock star lifestyle. But there were times during the tour where some of the members suffered either drug overdose or drank too much alcohol, because they consumed a lot of alcohol. They did a lot of drugs, and like I said, they were infamous in the way they lived and how they treated others. And they were extremely popular. There was a period when both their albums, Mjolnir's debut album and the Stupid Things second album, Show Me the Money, would flip-flop to #1 until they were knocked out on occasions by Rosangela Ferreira's debut American album, Rosangela, which they didn't like because they couldn't stand her. And both groups were really liberal, and they kind of hate people like Jesse Clemens because of his faith, and Rosangela had the same faith, and she was criticized not only for her faith, but and what she believed. She didn't really speak about politics or anything. She was criticized when she refused an advance by a lesbian woman, and one of the talk show hosts, liberal talk show hosts, shot her down because of that, and she had refused an invitation by President Obama to appear at the White House because she was on tour at the time, and she was shot down for that too. But the Stupid Things of Mjolnir were well loved. And their albums sold very well, and there was a time when they clashed, when the Stupid Things of Mjolnir confronted Jesse Clemens, who at the time was in London. And he and Rosangela Ferreira were at a place called Pepperlands, which was a Beatles-themed restaurant, and become well known. And it started in Liverpool, and then they built one in London. There was a Beatles-themed restaurant where Jesse hanged out when we was in London producing Seven Sojourns projects. And they criticized Jesse and Rosangela for going together because Jesse was white and Rosangela was a dark-skinned Brazilian. They considered her black, and they criticized her for that, for being involved in an interracial relationship. and before things got worse, they were thrown out by the manager, and that was the only confrontation in the whole novel between both Stupid Things and Mjolnir and Mjolnir's former bandmate Jesse Clemens. That was the only time, but there is one other, and I'm not going to tell. You'll have to read the book for yourself when it's published. But Mjolnir still blamed Jesse for holding them down. And even though they were famous and Jesse wasn't. In fact, Jesse was happy doing what he was doing, making music and producing. He didn't care about fame or anything. But the members of Mjolnir took any opportunity they could to put down Jesse Clemens, to cut him down. Say that he was the albatross around their necks. And they wouldn't let go, even though Mjolnir became world famous, internationally known. And Jesse still remained a relative unknown, despite the fact he was dating Rosanna Ferreira. And later on in the novel, later on in the chapter, Butch met another diva, a rock diva called Ivory Godiva, and he started having a relationship with her and being with her and only her. And they had the same beliefs that they did. They were raunchy, they were foul-mouthed, they smoked and drank and all that stuff. But that's about all I can tell for now about Mjolnir and the Stupid Things. Stay tuned for more about the Sonic Riptide novel.